Before we join anything, let's look at our edges. You'll notice the stitches at the very edge can look a little bit messy, while the column just one row in is much more consistent. Keep that in mind as we set up our first stitches. Grab your darning needle and we'll start at the bottom. It doesn't matter which piece of fabric you start on. Simply insert your needle into the center of the bottom stitch, pick up the horizontal bump between that stitch and the one above it, and bring the needle out through the stitch above. Now, move over to the second piece of fabric and do the exact same thing. Into the center, under the bump, and out the stitch above. To keep moving up, go back to the first side and insert your needle into the exact same stitch your yarn came out of. Pick up the bump and come out the stitch above. Mirror that on the second side. While we repeat this back and forth, let's talk about which column of stitches to use. Because there are multiple ways to work a seam, you have a choice based on your project. If you want a stronger seam and you don't mind a larger bump of fabric on the inside of the garment, you can work your stitches one column in from the edge where the fabric is more uniform. If you prefer to minimize that bulk on the inside and you're okay with the final seam looking just a little less perfect, stick to those stitches at the very edge. Neither way is wrong, it's simply preference. Once you have sewn through about 3 or 4 stitches on either side, your yarn will look like a loose ladder. Grab the sewing yarn and gently pull it tight to watch the two sides zip together. I'll demonstrate the sequence again. Go right back into the last exit point on the first piece of fabric, slide under the bump, and come out the top. Move to the opposite side, find the last exit point, go under the bump, and come out above. We just repeat the same rhythm up the fabric, keeping the tension loose and open until we're ready to pull the yarn again. That bump I keep referring to is actually the top loop of the stitch where you inserted your needle. You can also work mattress stitch by picking up either 1 or 2 horizontal bumps at a time. The difference is simply in the strength and speed of the seam. Taking 2 bumps goes faster and creates a firm, dense join, while 1 bump has more give to match the elasticity of the knit fabric and allows for precise row-by-row matching. Now we'll do our last pull to close up this section. As you pull the yarn tight, just be mindful of your tension. If you pull too tight, or if you work too many stitches before doing this zipper pull, the seam can become rigid and lose its stretch. Pull it just enough so the fabric sits snugly together without gathering or puckering.